I grew up a theater kid. I was obsessed with the theater. I loved it because it was about telling stories. What I didn't realize is that the whole world is a theater too. Last episode, we left a few things untouched, and we're gonna deep dive into that today. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, and welcome to episode 21 of the Life Vetted podcast. Thank you for being here and thank you for tuning in. So in our last episode, we went over my 20 life lessons. And at the end of that episode, I acknowledged that there were some things that were happening in the world that I wasn't going to get into in that episode, but I wanted to continue that conversation into this episode. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I am talking about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And it was really hard for me to think about how I was going to talk about this because I am not a political person by any means. And I don't really like to talk about it too much because my podcast is about life and it's about learning from your mistakes and evolving into a better person. It is about becoming a spiritual being. It is about the spiritual journey. It is about my life and how I can express the lessons that I've learned and hopefully help someone out there so that they don't have to go through maybe some of the same hardships that I've gone through. But I think this is a really important topic to talk about, and there's one particular thing that I feel like I can talk about, and I feel like it is in my realm of life moments, and I feel like it's important for me to share my view on things. So in this episode, we are going to talk about silence, art, and truth. You see, I grew up a theater-loving kid. I started school about a year late because of my birthday. So I was always the oldest kid in my class. I also didn't know any English when I started school, so I had to be put in a special ESOL class for about 3 years when I first started school because I didn't really speak English very well. I understood it, I believe, but I didn't speak it because I didn't speak it in my house. My house was a Spanish-only household, and I think the only English that I ever heard was like on the TV or like on the radio. So I started school late, and by the time that I was in second grade, from like kindergarten first, by the time I was in second grade, I had a teacher, Miss Simmons, who obviously saw my dramatic need for attention as a second grader. And she thought that it would be a great idea if I auditioned for South Miami Elementary, which is a magnet school in Florida. Now, a magnet school is basically where you audition for one of the 4 magnets, which at this school, it was dance, music, art, and drama. And she recommended me to go and try out for this school, which I did. I made it in, and you basically practiced your magnet for like half the day, and then like the other half of the day you did like your regular schooling, math, social studies, whatever. So I was in Magnet pretty much all of elementary. I went to a non-magnet middle school, but once I got the taste of theater in my blood, it never left. I was in theater in middle school. I was in musicals in high school. I did drama competitions. I mean, when I entered high school in ninth grade, none of my friends were in ninth grade. All my friends were 12th graders because I became part of the senior play. I was the understudy for a senior, but something happened to that senior, and then I became the role of Rizzo in Grease, which is one of the main roles, and I was the only ninth grader with a main role in this production out of pure luck. And all my friends were 12th graders. They were all in drama. I was already obsessed with theater, but I became, even more obsessed. I was home alone a lot as a kid, and the only thing I did was watch movies and listen to music. So those were my biggest outlets as a child. And for me, I became obsessed with these idols, actors, singers, artists. I just became obsessed with them, as a lot of us were, in the 90s. Athletes, Michael Jordan. But for me, it was like Whoopi Goldberg, Rosie O'Donnell, Julia Roberts, Lauryn Hill, everyone in the Mighty Ducks. Like, I was obsessed with Broadway and Chicago and Grease. I mean, it became an outlet of mine since I was a child. And I just loved that world. I was on shows on when I was a kid. I did a show on Univision, and I just became fascinated with that world. I looked up to artists, I looked up to actors, and for a while there, like, I really wanted to be one of them. I believed that, the theater, art, any kind of expression of art was somewhere where you can be true, right? Like, even though you're playing a character on stage, the emotions of the character, who the character is, you learn these characters as you're reading the script and learning your lines. And sometimes you might not completely identify with the characters, but a lot of the feelings maybe that character has, you can definitely identify. I remember when I was doing Grease, and I played the role of Rizzo, and Rizzo has this song where she is singing about that there are worse things she can do than cry in front of, like, the boy that she loves, right? Like, she can sleep with a bunch of guys, she can, not come home. There's so many things that she can do that are worse than showing vulnerability in front of her boyfriend Kaneki, right? And although I didn't really know that feeling, I couldn't really understand it completely. I remember every night when we did that show, and we, did this in front of the school, in front of people, I remember I cried every single night, and I got a standing ovation every single night I did that song. And the reason why is because I felt that pain of not being able to be vulnerable with anybody, not being able to really open up to anyone and really tell people what was happening in my home life, like what was happening with me. Like, I understood that. Always putting on a happy face, like being someone else in school and with my friends, and then going home and being someone completely different. And I I really felt that feeling like in my bones. And so for me, art, singing, theater, all of that was just a part of being able to express myself and being able to be honest with the things that I was feeling through this method, through this art. And that's what it stood for me. And that's what it meant to me for a very, very, very long time. One of the things that has been such a heartbreak for me in this spiritual journey is realizing that there is such a huge disconnect with these people that I admired for such a long time. Realizing that the people that I grew up with watching and wanting to be like and wanting to emulate, not only were they actors or singers as their occupation or as their form of art, but they were also acting in real life. The notion that some of these people that I admired were so disconnected from the world and what was happening in the world and some of the things that they would say is insane. And it has been such a heartbreak for me. And Charlie Kirk's assassination just made it even more evident that Hollywood and the music industry, about 90% of the people in these industries are as much actors and singers. They are acting out in the real world. And what am I talking about? You're like, Nympha, get to the fucking point. Like I said, I don't speak too much on politics, and you probably won't hear me speak too much on politics unless somebody asks me directly. I'll give them my opinion, but you won't hear me talk about it too much on my podcast. But what I will talk about, I will talk about Hollywood. I will talk about art because I feel like that is more my realm. I grew up a theater kid. I grew up as a kid in the arts, and I feel like that is more my forte. And so what I'm specifically referring to is this year's Emmys. I cover the Emmys. Well, I should say I used to cover the Emmys every year because of my business. I like to see what people are wearing. I love fashion and I like to cover the red carpet. I love watching movies. I love watching series. And so the Emmys, the Oscars, the Grammys, those are things that I always enjoy watching. And in the recent years, I have kept away from watching them. Specifically this year, I'm glad that I did not watch the whole thing. I saw clips of it on TikTok, and I felt like I had to come on to my podcast and really talk about my feelings. It is so insane to me that the Emmys, not one person who accepted a Emmy that night. Not one person, not the host, not a winner, not a loser. Nobody acknowledged the assassination of this young man. And it drives me completely bonkers that these people are so heartless that they were not able to just say something about this person who was assassinated in front of our eyes just because they did not agree with what he stood for. That is insane to me. Yet, you still had other actors and actresses that made sure to acknowledge things that are happening in the Middle East, things that have been happening between countries fighting, and things that are happening thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away. Yet, nobody acknowledged the assassination of this poor man. And let me be clear, if this is your first episode that you are listening, let me be clear. I am not a religious person. I do not believe personally in organized religion. I understand why some people do. I understand why some people need that structure for their lives. And I understand that it does good in a lot of people's lives. I also understand that it does really bad in other people's lives, right? Because everything has a balance and everything has an extreme. And although I did not agree with a lot of the things that Charlie Kirk stood for, when he was assassinated, and I involuntarily saw the video because it popped up on my feed, I was devastated. Completely devastated. Because I'm a human with decency. Is there any other way to explain it? Like, is there any other way for me to explain why I felt bad for this man? I do not get it. And so for an industry that I have looked up to for so many years to not even acknowledge this poor man's passing, but to make sure to acknowledge a country that is millions of miles away was completely bonkers to me. It was the straw that broke the camel's back, because I have already for a while, I have been turning my back on that industry because they are just so out of touch. They are so out of touch with reality, and they are so brainwashed, and the illusion is so strong that I've already turned my back on a lot of what that industry stands for. There was a period in time in my journey where I couldn't even listen to certain songs anymore because I knew the singer stood for certain things and said certain things that I just could not get behind. And I even stopped listening to music. There's movies that I can't even watch because it has been a journey for me to learn how to separate the art and the artist. That's something that I'm still learning. And so when this happened on the Emmys, it was literally the straw that broke the camel's back. It was the biggest disillusionment that I've had in a while. I was shocked. I was disappointed. I was sad. And I wasn't shocked, but I couldn't. You never want to believe that your idols are pieces of shits. Like, you don't want to believe that, right? Like, that's why I never want to meet, like, Michael Jordan. I met his wife one time, but I never want to meet Michael Jordan, like, ever. I don't want to meet him because I rather not know if he's an asshole or not an asshole or whatever. Like, I don't want to know. And I rather keep it that way. Do you remember, like, in the 90s where we didn't know anything about anyone that we like that we looked up to? That's how I want to keep it. And unfortunately, the veil has been very thin and the masks have been coming off slowly. That's what Pluto in Aquarius does. That's what Pluto in Aquarius does. And so this was really just so heartbreaking for me because it just really shows the state of it's like a mirror is what it is. It is a mirror showing all of us, humanity as a whole, where we are and how much love is really needed. And I couldn't believe that these people who are supposed to be the place of inclusivity, I mean, artist, theater, it's just one big community of inclusivity. Like, I remember when I was in theater and all the different kinds of people that it brought together. Like, in 9th grade, when I was doing that play, it just brought so many different kinds of people together and into one room, and we all loved each other. And even when we didn't like certain people, we still liked them. And it is just always been about, if you're different, it doesn't matter. You're okay here. And so watching that shit, like, in my feed and watching how people just dismissed this tragedy that happened in our own country and nobody felt the need to say anything about it, even a moment of silence, or maybe not even that, just something like, we need to do better, we should do better, was insane to me. Like, completely bogus, just because this person affiliated himself with, like, a political party maybe that you didn't agree with, or ideas that you didn't agree with. That shit is fucking crazy. And I have never been more, like, heartbroken by some sort of, like, cultural thing that has happened than that. I was so angry about it. Most of you know my story. You know that I grew up going to Cuba. I grew up seeing poverty, being part of poverty. I grew up very different than a lot of my peers. And so for me, when I say that I love this country and a whole group of people see that as a threat, is insane to me. When I say the privilege is not if you have more melanin in your skin than someone that has less melanin in your skin. The privilege is that you're a US citizen, or that you were born in the United States, or that you live in the United States, or that you're a resident of the United States. It's insane to me that when I say that, it is taken as like a threat, and it's just the brainwash, the illusionment, the illusion. Sorry, I should say the illusion and the indoctrination that is happening. It's like illusion versus truth. It's not even like good versus evil. It's like illusion versus truth. And it's insane to me because I have such a different perspective than so many people that I know. And I grew up different. And so for me, a lot of people just lack perspective. And I used to see these actors and actresses as like these like godlike people because you look up to them, right? And you're like, wow, like, they're artists and they're doing like the truth, like they're out there like expressing life through art. And for a long time now, I have been so disappointed in so many of them that it has brought them down to a very human level for me, almost like even like unintelligent level for me. And it's been a process for me. It has been a process for me to detach the art and the artist. And it's been very hard for me to listen to certain musics, like I mentioned, even watch certain movies, like I mentioned. I'm getting better. I am getting better at it because as a lover of art, I cannot completely detach myself from that world because I love it. I love movies. I love what a movie can do for someone. I love the story and the emotions and the feelings that you can evoke in someone by creating a movie, by watching a movie, by listening to a song. Like, those things are important in the world. They're important. And so I can't completely detach myself from that. And so I have learned over the years to separate the two. And I've asked myself many times, can you hold both? Because a lot of you know that the reason why I started this podcast was because I have been writing a book about my story for a while. And during the writing process, I said to myself, like, I'm not going to stop writing my book, but I feel like I need to get my story out faster. I want this story to be out of my body and out into the world. It was kind of like a healing thing for me. And so I started the podcast because that's the idea that came up. I'm like, oh, well, maybe I can just start a podcast and just talk about my life experiences and like just help people through that, right? And because I believe that my mission in this world is to tell stories and to tell my story, specifically my story, because it's going to encourage someone, it's going to light a path for someone, it will impact someone in some way. And so that's why I started this podcast. But my goal has always been to eventually, write a book, even write a script, even like have a series, a movie, whatever the case may be. Like, I've always in some small way have wanted to still break into that industry, even if it's in a small capacity. My daughter loves theater. She loves acting. When you ask her what she wants to do with her life, she literally says, I want to be an actress. When a teacher handed out like an assignment, and one of the questions in the assignment was, who would you pick? What actress would you pick to play you in a movie? My daughter answered herself, because she already sees herself as an actress. Like, she literally said, me, I would play me in a movie because I am the actress. Like, it's insane. So I've always felt connected to that world, and I mean, in my chart, like, all these things, like, it mirrors and reflects that. And so Hollywood's collapse has been happening for a while. You can see it with like the streamers that are now so popular. You could see it with the way that they handle these kinds of political whatever. I don't even think it's a political situation, but the way that they handle like these kinds of situations where everyone stays silent, where they even the people that might not agree with the majority of the industry, they stay quiet because they're afraid of what might happen to them. Like, all the things that have come out about the abuse and the child molestation and the pedophiles and the drinking children's bloods and the, you know, like, all the craziness that has happened, there's definitely a structure that is collapsing in this industry. And a lot of masks are coming off. We are stepping into an era where the masks are off. In politics, in art, in media, in the way people do write, like journalism, like in all of that. The masks are coming off. There is a revolution that is happening right before our eyes. And from someone who grew up loving the arts, this is where we need honest stories and honest voices, real, raw voices. And the tables are really, really turning. The revolution that is happening is the revolution of authenticity. People don't want to see fake shit anymore. They don't want it. It's the reason why I have even turned myself away from all of these people, because they're just not honest. It is not honest to hold an award ceremony after a young man has been killed in front of the world's eyes and not be human enough to say anything about it. You want to acknowledge a country thousands of miles away where, here's the part that gets me, right? Like I mentioned, I grew up how I grew up, right? Seeing a lot of things being different than a lot of my peers. But you want to advocate for a country that if you stepped foot in that country and you were yourself, they would throw you off of a building. Okay? Because you could not just walk into freaking the Middle East and be gay and whatever and just live. Like that, they would kill you. But you want to make these political statements in an award show with your millions and millions and millions of dollars, and you want to talk about a country that wouldn't protect you if they were paid to. It is insane to me. And to me, that's not politics, right? Like, it's political for the people making the statements, but for me, saying this now is not a political take. It is just common sense. It is human fucking decency. This is why I love Ricky Gervais, because when he hosted one of these award shows, he literally said to everyone in the room, nobody gives a fuck about your political stance. Nobody gives a fuck about who you stand with and who you don't stand with. Just get up here, thank your fucking manager, thank your fucking publicist, thank the people in your movie, grab your reward, and go fucking home. That is literally what Ricky Gervais says, and I fucking love that guy because it is so fucking true. And if you are going to say something, how is it that you're going to say something on this side but not on this side? So it's just one big fucking illusion where they make the statements that they want to make but not certain statements. Again, coming from an industry that is supposed to be about inclusivity. But it's become an industry about, are you with us? And if you're not with us, you're not invited. You're not allowed. That's insane to me. It's completely insane. My favorite movie when I was like in middle school was Sister Act. I watched that movie. I know all the dances. I know the lines by memory. I was completely obsessed with that movie. Do you know how hard it is to see clips of Whoopi Goldberg saying the shit that she says? Rosie O'Donnell. I fucking loved Rosie O'Donnell. Harriet the Spy. Are you fucking kidding me? Loved Rosie O'Donnell. You know how hard it's insane. It is, honestly, it's crazy. But that's why everything that's happening is happening. And now a lot of you can say, oh, Nympha, you're crazy. You think that it's just because Pluto is an Aquarius? Please go look up the last time that Pluto was in Aquarius, what happened. Please go look it up. I grew up a theater kid because I love telling stories. What I didn't realize is that the world is a theater too. And the Emmys was a perfect example about how they gave us staged moments, political sound bites, yet nobody acknowledged the truth about what was actually happening in the moment. A full-on staged play. We are stepping into an era where the masks come off. Pluto in Aquarius does not like illusion. Aquarius is the sign of rebellion. It is the sign of the humanitarian. It is the sign of what is better for the collective. And Pluto in Aquarius does not play that shit. And that's why I believe that music, art, the media, they're all about to have a humongous shift. It is in need of real people, real stories, and maybe that's why I was placed here. To tell that shit like it is. Whether some people like it or not. This whole spiritual journey is not just about healing yourself in silence. It's also about recognizing when the collective is asleep. And it's not about forcing them to come to your side, but it's about speaking from an honest place so that those people that have that little flicker of light inside of them can follow and can hear the truth, the real path, and igniting that little spark inside of them into something bigger. I live my life in a certain way, and I expect that to cause a big enough ripple that it will inspire someone. But this particular topic hit a little personal and a little close to home because of how I grew up and how much I love the arts and theater and music. And so the fact that these people can be so awful and not even care about the murder of someone tells me all I need to know. My disappointment in the arts tells me one thing. We need more truth tellers. And maybe that's why I'm here, and maybe that's why you're here too. Who knows? You might be one of those people listening to this, and you might be one of those people that is going to change this world into something better. Thinking about my last episode, I feel like I should add another or change one of those lessons in life, because talking about all of this just reminds me that just because something is celebrated, it doesn't mean that it's the truth. Just because there's a majority of people and they have this opinion, like, it doesn't mean that it's the truth. And again, this is not a political stance at all whatsoever. If you ask me my political stance, I am pretty much like a libertarian. I don't care what people do. I don't care what anyone is doing, as long as you're not hurting anyone else and as long as you're not trying to impose anything on anyone else. And if you really ask me, it's all part of this fucking simulation that we're living in, and it's not real if you want to get deeper into that shit. But I do believe that art as a form of expression is huge for some people, and it is needed in this world. I love creating. Creating is in my blood. And so when you see these people who are just so disconnected from the truth, which is just be a decent human being, it breaks my heart. Breaks my heart. Part of our journey here is developing the eyes to see beyond the veil, to see beyond what they're showing us, and to speak the truth about it. To see beyond the performance and speak the truth anyway. It's not popular. It obviously can get you killed. Poor Charlie Kirk speaking his truth, and it got him assassinated, and people didn't even have any sympathy for it. A lot of us did, but some people were like celebrating it. That's insane to me. We have to see beyond that veil. And yes, although his assassination was terrible, there's more to it. It's not just the assassination of him. It is the performance of what they want you to believe, what they want you to see so that you can pick a side. It is one big play. Do not let them play you. But on a brighter note, I do believe that things are changing. I do believe that a revolution to the arts is coming. And I hope to be part of it. This era is going to demand truth, authenticity, innovation, transformation. It's going to demand these things if we are to keep it alive. And I hope to be one of those people. So maybe the stage is not lost. Maybe it's just time for the right players to be involved. They could never make me hate you, J.K. Rowling. If you ever hear this or see this, they could never make me hate you. I really hope that you guys are opening your eyes out there. Do not be influenced by the people that you once looked up to in these industries. Do not let yourself be heartbroken by it either. I've had to learn that the hard way. We need more people willing to tell stories that hurt, that are ugly, and that are transformational. Until then, I'll keep vetting life and calling it like I see it. And like I always say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. The lessons, they will find you. Until next time, this is Life Vetted.